I'm Jared Willits, and welcome to My Thoughts for What They're Worth, episode 43? Already 43, entitled Joyful Cheers and Mournful Tears. Please, if you like the podcast, do like it. Push the little like button. Sharing it would be great, letting other people know about it. Subscribing, even more wonderful. Do 1, 2, or all 3. I would appreciate it. My thoughts for what they're worth here on YouTube and Spotify. A big thank you to those people who have already done that sort of thing. Really helpful as I try to move this podcast forward. To what destination, I have no idea. But every week I just say, okay, let's do another one and see what we can accomplish. If anything. Joyful cheers and mournful tears. Pretty much we expected. Whatever side, the winning side screaming and yelling yay, and the other side a little very mournful, and even crying for the loss. And I had hoped when the dust settled, which I think is still settling, certainly, we could move on and not get into a lot of accusatory stuff and recriminations and insults and things like that. But that is par for the course in big time politics. It's just the way that goes. And perhaps over time, a little bit, and I don't know how much time, it might settle down just a little teeny bit about the blame of why one side won and the other side lost. The big-time media folks had predicted it was going to be a different scenario, and the pollsters certainly had predicted it was going to be neck and neck. It was going to be a photo finish of somebody winning by a nose, and it didn't work out that way. I don't know if it was an official landslide. I don't know what it has to be a landslide, but it was a resounding win, which brings me to the polls. Gosh, I don't think they'll be believed for a very, very, very long time. They got it so very, very wrong. I mean, it wasn't neck and neck by any means, and how they got it wrong is hard to figure. A couple things. Maybe they're just bad at it. Maybe they're just bad. And maybe in these difficult political times, could it have been a case of getting your answer and then filling in the blanks? Could have been a little bit of a wishful thinking. I think with all polls, they're a little suspect, as I say, because we never really hear. Sometimes you hear who conducted the poll, and you go, who? Who are these people? What you don't hear oftentimes is where the poll was conducted, how many people, and what were the demographics of those people, and most importantly, I think, the specific questions being asked. It all depends how you phrase a question. I mean, you can push an answer by the phrasing of a question. You really can. You know this. Have they done that? Do they do that? I don't know. I'm not going to make an accusation. That'd be a little too harsh. But it is something to think about. Would you rather be called a cheater or just bad at it? I don't know. Take your pick with the pollsters. And that brings me to the big time media. And I've mentioned this a couple times before, and I think it's important. There's a really, really big difference between big time news organizations and local news organizations. Entirely different. And they, many of them, and as well as like the talk shows were making their predictions of this is what's going to happen. This is what the polls say, and this is the way it's going to go. And it didn't go that way. Now, for the big-time media and election night coverage, I'm kind of getting off the subject here, but I wanted to mention that viewership was way down compared to prior years on different election nights. Why? Two things, I think, maybe, in play here. There are so many other sources for news these days. My goodness. It was a time where you had, the 3 big networks. When I was a kid, that's all you had. And that was a different era for sure in many ways. But now there are so many ways to get news and information. So, the pie is getting sliced up into a lot of different small pieces. So that may well have been the case. I'd put my money there. But there are those who are saying as well that the media has lost a little bit of their credibility, especially during this election cycle. We've mentioned this once or twice before. What you have to look at sometimes, news coverage, is, how the stories and people are being covered. And sometimes, I think more importantly, the stories that are not covered, just left, no, we're not going to do that one. Because maybe it doesn't work with a particular point of view. And I think many people in the country think that the big-time news outlets have a point of view. I would think, no, I know, that many people believe that it would be very difficult in recent days to find a big-time journalist who would qualify as a fair witness. Fair witness, quote unquote. Sci-fi friends will understand that one. So I'm rambling here. What we're just hoping for at the end of it all, when the dust finally gets down to the ground, we can all move on. Because we have to. You know, I will even say I will give President Biden a great credit for when he came out and spoke. He said, listen, this is the way it is. It's a contest. The people have spoken one way or the other. We don't agree with it, but this is the way it works. And we're going to have a transfer of power just like we're supposed to, and we'll kind of all move on. And everybody, is going to work to work towards the America that they want, that we want. He was great and gracious with that, and certainly a contrast to a few years prior. So good for the president. So those are my thoughts. For what they're worth, I'm Jared Willits.